IAS Academy.
Hello all, welcome to IAS Academy and welcome back to the program Editorial Daily, in which we deal with editorial analysis, which enriches your perspectives and enhance your answer writing abilities. So let's get started with our today's session. So the first article for today is Clearing the Road to Timely Trauma Care in India. Clearing the road to timely trauma care in India. Okay. So basically, on May 26th, that is today, the Supreme Court of India has given the judgment. The Supreme Court of India has given the judgment, which is a declared judgment in Save Life Foundation versus the Union of India. Save Life Foundation versus Union of India. So the Supreme Court has gave the judgment like it recognizing the right to trauma care as an integral part of Article 29, making the right to trauma care as an integral part of Article 21, which is the right to life of the Constitution. Okay. So the court also held that the right extends from the site of injury, to the definitive hospital treatment, and issued the binding directions to the governments for creating a comprehensive trauma care system. Okay. This is what the Supreme Court has given. And why you think this judgment is important? Because India's trauma burden, basically, it is around 4.67 lakh Indians are dying annually. Due to the injuries which are caused by road accidents, falls, burns, drowning, and what you call the industrial accidents, might be the natural disasters. Okay, so road accidents constitute to around 1.77 lakh deaths annually. The major contribution is of the road accidents. So trauma is always leading to the cause of death among the Indians who are aging between 18 to 45 years. Okay. Now, according to this law commission, that is the 201st report, what it says is nearly 50% of the road accident deaths are preventable through the timely medical interventions. And this is what the law commission of the 201st report has been said. And the Niti Aayog aims emergency and injury care also report in 2021, it is founded that around 30% of deaths occur because of the delays in the emergency response. Okay, so basically the core problem arises like India has several schemes and guidelines, okay, to manage these accidents, to get the treatment done and all, but it lacks the uniformity, it lacks the integrated healthcare, and even the legally enforceable trauma care framework. This is what the India is lacking. Okay, let's see into few cases which are very important based on this trauma care and all, and we'll look into this article completely and detailedly. And okay, let's see. The topic is Clearing the Road to Timely Trauma Care in India, and the subject linkage which we can see is we can link this to the GS paper 2, which is the issues relating to the development and management of social sector or service relating to health. And in the GS paper 2, you can, in same GS paper 2, you can link to the structure, organization and functioning of the judiciary, which is significant to the Supreme Court judgments. And again, in the same GS paper 2, you can link to another topic like functions and responsibilities of the union and state, issues and challenges pertaining to the freedom structure, which is the cooperative federalism, which you can link. Okay, now let's see what is the context of it is. On May 26, 2026, the Supreme Court of India delivered a landmark judgment which is holding the right to trauma care is an integral part of the right to life under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. This is what the Supreme Court has said. We have discussed previously. So the court issued 9 binding directions. It issued how many? 9 binding directions to the union and states with strict implementation timelines. Okay, when coming to this topic, how can you write the introduction is, see, India faces a severe public health crisis with approximately 4.67 lakh Indians which are dying annually from injuries, which including 1.77 lakh from the road crashes. So the trauma is a leading cause of death among Indians which are aged between 18 to 45. So despite having policies, India has lacked a uniform enforceable trauma care framework. Okay, so the recent Supreme Court ruling transforms the emergency healthcare from a fragmented service into a constitutionally mandated integrated right spanning from the bystander at the crash site to the receiving hospital facility. Okay. Yes. When we look into the evolution of the right to the emergency care, first you see the historical uh, jurisprudence. We can say the recent judgment builds upon the previous landmark cases. There are few landmark cases which we have to look into. The first is the Pramanand Khatara versus the Union of India 1989, which is recognized the duty of doctors to render the emergency aid. This is the first case. And the second case is Pashim Banga Khet Mazdoor Samiti versus State of West Bengal 1996. This is the another case which read the access to emergency care into the Article 91. Okay. So, what is the current shift now? The present order expands this right to cover the entire chain of medical care. The entire chain of medical care, the bystander, the emergency call, the ambulance, the paramedic, and the receiving facility okay. So it imposes a positive obligation on the state which to build an integrated response system. Okay, so let us see what is this the chain of the medical care, how it works. First is the bystander at the crash site, at the accident spot, then the emergency call, then comes the ambulance and transport to the hospital, then the paramedical care, the first aid care, and then receiving facility or a definitive hospital treatment. This is the chain of the medical care. Okay, moving on. The next is the need for the systemic integration. The need for systemic integration, like survival in trauma depends on the connected system, not just well-equipped individual institutions. It's not about the well-equipped things. In this trauma, you have to be a connected system. Depends on the connected system. So, according to the 201st Law Commission report, half of the road crash fatalities are preventable with the timely care, because when we call to an ambulance it won't be available immediately, right? So a few times because of this delayed treatments and all leads to the fatalities during the road accidents mainly. Okay, and again a 2021 Niti Aayog aims report highlighted that at least 30% of the deaths which are linked to the delays in the emergency response. Okay, so system integration saves life, like timely care is equal to the preventable deaths. Okay, so let's see the key directives by the Supreme Court, the 5 clusters what we have said. The one first is the communication. The number is 112. It is an emergency numbers like 100 for police station, 101 and 108 etc. must be integrated into a single helpline number, that is 112. That is ERSS 112 within 3 months. This is the time period what the Supreme Court has given to include, to integrate all this 108, 101, 100 into the one integration to the number ERSS 112. Okay. See, the next is the definitive hospital treatment. Definitive hospital treatment, like the final specialized medical care required to the required to treat the trauma beyond just initial first aid. Okay. Next is chain of medical care. Chain of medical care is the continuous sequence of assistance from the moment of injury, from bystander to emergency call, then the paramedical and receiving facility. Okay, this is the chain of medical care. Then the pre-hospital response. Pre-hospital response, like the critical care and transport logistics that occur before a patient arrives at the emergency room doors. Okay, and the structured audits for the regular formalized checks on ambulance response times and clinical outcomes to ensure the accountability. This has to be done. Okay, and yes, the conclusion which we can write for this topic is The Supreme Court comprehensive directions, which are established a robust compliance architecture with the strict judicial oversight requiring the action taken reports to be filed and monitored by the Attorney General. So, while implementation across states with varying capacities will remain challenging, the burden of inaction has decisively shifted. So the judicial oversight has finally paved the way to make the constitutional right to timely and effective trauma care a reality for Indian citizen. Okay, reality for every Indian citizen. So the timely trauma care is no longer only a policy aspiration, it is now a judicially enforceable dimension of Article 21. Okay, yes, this is about the article. Let's move on to the next article. And yes, the next article for today is Sustaining India's Low Fertility Future. Sustaining India's Low Fertility Future, which has India has entered a new demographic phase according to the latest sample registration system, the SRS data, sample registration system data. India total fertility rate has fallen to 1.9. Okay, it has fallen to 1.9. Basically, the replacement level fertility is previously it is 2.1. The global average fertility rate is 2.2, but the India has fallen to 1.9. Okay, according to the sample registration system data. Okay. So this marks a historic shift from the concerns about the population expansion to the concerns about managing and aging society and a shrinking fertility rate. Okay, so basically the total fertility rate in India is 1.9 as we discussed, and in what you say, the replacement level is basically from 2.1 it has reached to 1.9. And coming to the regional variations, that very low fertility states are basically, the first comes the Delhi with 1.2, 1.2, and Kerala with 1. Next comes Kerala with 1.3, and then the Tamil Nadu with 1.3 the same, and West Bengal with 1.3. These are the states with very low fertility states. And coming to the higher fertility states, the first ranks the Bihar with 2.9. 2.9, and next the UP, Uttar Pradesh with 2.6, and Madhya Pradesh with 2.4, and Rajasthan with 2.3. These are the high fertility states in India. Okay, so a low fertility nation overall, India is a low fertility nation overall, but not a uniform demographic entity. So different states are at a different stage of demographic transition. Okay, when we see the higher fertility rate states and the lower fertility rate states, it's not that we cannot say it is completely coming, the fertility rates are completely coming down, but it has a different states have the different stages of the demographic transition. Okay, so when we see the aging status of states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Delhi, they are already witnessing the rapid aging. They are already witnessing the rapid aging, rise in the dependency ratios, and growing demand for the elderly care. Okay, so younger states, the states such as Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, they still have the large youth population. UP and Bihar, these two states, the Bihar and UP, have the larger youth populations and potential demographic dividend. Okay, so the policy need that India requires is job creation in the younger states and elder care infrastructure in the aging states has to be come up. These policies have to come up in India. Okay, so let's see the complete context of this topic and let's discuss this article in the brief manner. Okay, let's see. And yes, see, the topic is Sustaining India's Low Fertility Future, which we can link this article to our GS paper 1 for the population and associated issues in the demographics topic. And then we can link to GS paper 2, which is the welfare schemes for vulnerable sections of the population, which is elderly, and the issues relating to the development and management of the social sector or the services relating to health and human resources. Okay, this is where we can link. Next in GS paper 3 also we can link this article like Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth development and employment. Okay. Now moving forward, let's see the context of the topic. What is this article is talking about? According to the latest sample registration system data, that is SRS data, India's total fertility rate has fallen to 1.9 below the replacement level of 2.1. From 2.1, India has fallen the fertility rate to 1.9. Okay, so this makes a major demographic transition which India is moving from anxiety about population growth towards the challenge of mass aging, even while operating on a relatively weak fiscal and institutional base. Okay, and how can we write an introduction for this topic is basically, see, India is entering a new demographic phase with its total fertility rate depending to dropping to 1.9. Unlike the Western Europe and Japan, which aged after building strong welfare institutions, India is entering the demographic passage on a much weaker economic base. Okay, so the challenge is twofold, like create productive opportunities for young workers in high fertility states, while rapidly strengthening the income, care, and health systems for a growing elderly population in the low fertility states. This is what the twofold challenges which India has in front. Okay, now let's say the fragmented demographic landscape of India, which we can take a note of it. So the first is the geographic divide. Like India is not transitioning as a single demographic economy. It has an ultra low fertility. Like Delhi has 1.2, as I discussed. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal has 1.3. Okay, are comparable to lower than Japan and Finland. Apart from Japan and Finland, these states have the low fertility rate. The higher fertility rates follow up with Bihar, which has 2.9, Uttar Pradesh has 2.4, still having large youth cohorts entering the labor force. Okay, so coming to the urban rural divide, urban fertility has fallen sharply to 1.5. 1.5. Rural fertility remains around the replacement level, that is 2.1, and this creates uneven demand on labor, markets, welfare systems, and the public services. Basically, in urban areas only, this fertility rate is being decreased. Okay, due to, we can easily say this work-life imbalance, or else the opportunities and all. Okay, now when you see the India's total fertility rate landscapes, ultra low fertility rates which have less than 1.5 is these areas which are in this color. Okay, next is the moderate fertility TFR. These are the states which have the moderate fertility TFRs. Okay, next is high fertility TFRs, is the states which are dark in this orange color. Okay, so most of the India has the ultra low fertility rate which is less than 1.5. Okay, so this is one of the thing which we have to get concerned of. Okay, so when you see India's total fertility rate below is 1.9 below the replacement level 2.1, which we can quickly revise. Ultra low fertility states are Delhi 1.2, this Kerala 1.3, Tamil Nadu 1.3, and West Bengal 1.3, and higher fertility rate states is Bihar 2.9 and Uttar Pradesh of 2.4. This is the quick revision which we can take up. Okay, next, coming to the institution and institutional and fiscal vulnerabilities of this article is, first is the narrow tax base. Like per capita income remains low at about $2,800, and the direct taxpayers account for only about 6% of the population. 6% of the population is only the direct taxpayers. This constrains the fiscal capacity of the state governments. Okay, next, the informal labor market. Like most Indian works in the informal or semi-formal sectors without the stable contracts. So the contribution based pension systems struggle because regular long-term savings are difficult. Okay, next is the inadequate safety nets. Like Non-contributory schemes such as NSAP provide only 200 to 500 per month. So around 70% of the elderly depend on others. So about 78% have no pension cover. So India's low fertility future is not just a demographic transition. It is a test of whether the state can build fiscal, social and care institutions fast enough to support both the young workers and the aging population. Okay. Now, when you see the state-wise demographic reality, we can see the ultra-low fertility states which have the total fertility rate less than 1.4, like Delhi which has 1.2, Tamil Nadu of 1.3, Kerala of 1.1, West Bengal of 1.3 and Punjab of 1.4. What they have? They had rapid aging and the shrinking youth cohort and high dependency in dependency ratio in coming decades. Okay, next is the transitioning states which have the total fertility rate of between 1.5 to 2.1. So the states like Maharashtra which has 1.6, Gujarat of 1.7, Karnataka of 1.7, Andhra Pradesh of 1.7 and Telangana of 1.7. So they have the moderate aging pressure and the opportunity to build a productive workforce. So coming to the high fertility states which have the total fertility rate of more than 2.2, like Bihar with 2.9, Uttar Pradesh of 2.4, Madhya Pradesh of 2.2 and Rajasthan with 2.2 and Jharkhand with 2.3. So they have the large youth cohorts. Okay, so high burden on health, education and jobs is there, risk of low wage informally. Okay, this is what it is. Informality is also there in these high fertility states. Okay, so policy must determine like aggregate support in the low total fertility rate states and jobs and human capital in the high total fertility rates. So India's fertility transition is highly uneven across states, which is creating the diverse policy challenges. Okay, now coming to the aging wave, which is the number that matters, is first is the rising elderly population. Like elderly in the sense, whenever a person attains a 60 plus of age, we consider them as elderly population, will rise from, it is generally 10.1 crore from 10.1 crore in 2021 to it will rise to approximately 19.9 crore in 2031 and approximately to 31.4 crore approximately in 2050. The rising elderly population. Okay, next is old age dependency ratio. Old age dependency ratio will worsen from it is basically 12.3% in 2021 to approximately 20% by 2031 and approximately 28% by 2050. This old age dependency ratio may increase. Next is the life expectancy increase from basically we have the life expectancy of 69.7 years when till 2011 to 2015, but it will increase to 70.9 years for 2016 to 2020. So more Indians will live longer, demanding the care. Okay, next is the health burden shift. This non-communicable diseases account for more than 60% of total deaths, which is morbidity is rising among the elderly. Okay, next is the gendered aging. Gendered aging, where elderly women outnumber men and face higher vulnerability due to lower income and widowhood. Okay, this is the major concerns, the aging wave, that numbers which matters. Okay, so mass aging without the adequate preparation can strain the public finances, healthcare systems and the social cohesion. Okay, when coming to the global lessons for India, what India have to learn from the global things is basically, when you see, the Japan has achieved high income before aging. High income before aging, which is invested heavily in social security and long-term care insurance. Okay, now, and this is about Japan. When it is Europe build a welfare state with universal pensions, healthcare and active aging policies. Okay, what is the key takeaway for India based on this situation is reap the demographic dividend in high fertility states while building fiscal and institutional capacity before aging deepens. Okay, so what is the way forward which we can write? The priority actions which the India has to take up is strengthen the social security architecture, like it has to implement the inflation indexed minimum pension floor, it has to expand non-contributory pensions with adequate coverage and amounts. Okay, so when coming next is build geriatric and long-term care systems. Geriatric and long-term care systems, like integrate the geriatric care into PHCs and what you call distinct hospitals to develop the community based care and daycare centers. Okay, next, to promote the productive aging, in the sense to encourage the skill of older adults, to promote age friendly workplaces and flexible employment. And the next is to ensure the portability of benefits. Ensure the portability of benefits, like universal portability of health insurances, pensions and PDSs. Okay, to create one nation, one welfare framework. That is one nation, one welfare framework. Okay, this is what a way forward we can write. And to invest in youth of high fertility states, like quality education, skilling and job creations. So this prevents the migration into low wage informality. Okay, so demographic dividend and the demographic preparedness, when we combine these two, we get the sustainable and inclusive growth. So how can you come up with the conclusion? The conclusion you can come up with is India's low fertility future is both an opportunity and a warning itself. So the demographic transition will be a dividend only if India builds strong public system of healthcare, pensions, and the social protection now. So if not, low fertility could turn into a fiscal and social crisis. Okay, acting today will ensure that longevity become a blessing, not a burden. Okay. So what are the high important keywords which we can take from this article is the demographic transition, the ultra low fertility, mass aging, public risk pooling, inflation indeed pension floor, this portable welfare and left behind elderly. These are the few keywords which we can take out from this article. Okay. Yes, these are the articles for today. Basically, the first two articles which we have seen for today, when we examine the clearing the road or to timely trauma care in India and the sustaining India's low fertility future, together a common theme encourages, like it is India's demographic and developmental future will depend not merely on the economic growth but on the strength of its public institutions and social protection systems. So the first article highlights the Supreme Court's recognition of the timely trauma care as a constitutional right under the Article 21. Okay, and the second article shows that India enters a low fertility and aging era. Okay, so the country must build the robust systems for elderly care, social security, pensions, health care, and welfare portability to ensure the dignity and security for the citizens throughout their lives. This is what we have seen in these two articles. Okay, and yes, I hope you all like this video. To get a detailed note on it, to get this PDF down or PDF, you with the link, visit our website, which the link is provided in the description below. You can download this PDF from there, and I hope you all have taken the note of it, because these two are very important topics now which have discussed today. And yes, do follow, like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel for daily editorial analysis, which are very helpful for your answer writing in your mains examination as well as for your interview preparation itself. Okay, so and do follow our Instagram and Telegram channels as well for your UPSC preparation. And I'll see you all tomorrow with another editorial analysis. Thank you.